revolutionize the financial industry. Algorithms, they predict cash flow, machine learning models that optimize working capital, or a chatbot that you can build that will answer questions about your clients' numbers or your clients can talk to instead of you. But here's what nobody is talking about. None of that replaces what you actually do as an advisor. Because the truth is, when a business owner sits across from you with their cash flow problems and they're in crisis, they're not looking for another report or an analysis of their numbers. They're not looking for another graph. They are looking for a human being that understands the human reality behind those numbers and what's going on in the business. The algorithm that tells you that your days sales outstanding jumped from 35 to 52 days, that's okay. That's what an algorithm does. But it can't tell you that it's because the owner's best salesperson is letting customers slide on payments so they can hit quotas. And the terms are going down the toilet. That takes digging. That takes judgment. That takes relationships. And that means it takes you. Stay with me. To the end of the episode, I'm going to give you a specific action you can take this week to strengthen your client relationships in a way that no AI tool ever could and become a more confident cash flow advisor in the process. I am David Safir. I'm the founder of Cash is Clear Learning Systems, and this is Cash Flow Confidence Live, where financial pros learn to become fearless cash flow and profit advisors. My mission is simple: to help you close the clarity gap that your clients have and to grow the advisory impact by focusing in on cash, not accounting. Let me tell you something that I see all the time, and it's when an accountant gets really excited about a new cash forecasting tool, and they spend weeks learning it. They're usually not easy, and they configure it and they get it right and they run it for their client, and the output's beautiful. Color-coded charts, predictive analytics, everything's in there. And then they present it to the client, and the client looks at them and says, okay, so what do I do about this? And that's when the financial professional realizes the tool gave them data, but that's not what their clients need. The clients need wisdom. That is why I teach cash flow advisors that advisory is fundamentally different from traditional accounting work. Traditional accounting asks, what are the numbers? Cash flow advisory asks, what are the humans doing that's creating those numbers? So let me break this down into 3 areas where your human judgment will beat any algorithm. Number 1, mindset. Every cash flow problem has a human mindset component. I've worked with businesses across 40 countries, and I can tell you the numbers look different, but the fear, the resistance, the blind spots, those are universal. When somebody's accounts receivables are ballooning, the algorithm sees days sales outstanding, 47 days. But you see a business owner that has those 47 days sales outstanding as someone who's afraid to have tough conversations with customers because they're scared of losing the relationship. No AI tool is going to coach that owner through avoiding these conversations. And it's the lack of conversations is actually destroying the relationship because it's forcing them to eventually terminate the customer relationship when the receivable becomes uncollectible. It's your job You need the mindset to transfer that and help provide confidence to the business owner. Second, judgment, working and digging into root causes. The AIs will have a ratio and report trap, and that's where a lot of client accountants get stuck, is basically providing more numbers, more reports. As a client's gross margin drops, the analysis shows it. The AI can flag it. The dashboard lights up red. Everyone runs to produce more reports, the product mix analysis, the pricing variance reports, the cost breakdowns. I've been there. I've worked in companies, the panic mode of declining margins. But here's what the algorithms can't tell you. The large learning models won't know, and that it's a pricing problem, an estimation problem, a scope creep problem, a theft problem. Is it one of those? I've seen margins drop because operations, these are real clients I worked with, operations decided to ship to the least profitable clients first, and they would run out of product to ship to the most profitable clients. I've seen literally a production manager who'd walk out the door once or twice a week or 3 times a week. And I found out he was buying the nuts and bolts, tens of thousands of them, from a retail hardware store instead of a commercial distributor, where he could have gotten 93% off the retail price. I've seen a project manager who was terrible at estimating and kept underquoting. And then finally, I worked with a hardware store that didn't call people to pick up their repaired equipment. It just sat. People moved away, people's phones were turned off, and then they didn't have anything to do with the equipment. That's you figuring this out. It's the same symptom, but 4 completely different root causes. Declining margins, 4 causes, 4 different solutions to each, one for each cause. And then it's your judgment based on the understanding that the humans in the business is what identifies what the problem actually is. The algorithm just says, margins are down, investigate. A third way that AI will never replace you is a relationship of trust. This is the big one. And it's where AI fundamentally cannot and will not compete with you. Cash flow advisory requires clients to be vulnerable with you. They need to admit what they don't know and what they're afraid of and what mistakes they've made. They can't do that with a chat bot. Well, they could, but I won't go into that. People are using chatbots as psychiatrists, and I understand it's not working out very, very well all the time. This is the services they can do with you. They can be vulnerable with you. They can admit what they've done wrong. They can admit the mistakes they made and what they're afraid of, because you've built a relationship and they trust you. And they trust you. You won't judge them. They trust you because you're in their corner, you're on their side, and they know that you see them as a whole person, not just as a bunch of numbers. So I teach my clients, the financial professionals in my Cash is Clear advisory program, that every cash flow engagement has 4 main human factors that you need to understand. Factor 1, clarity. Do they understand what's actually happening to their cash? Factor 2, authority. Do the right people have the power to make decisions? Number 3, incentives. Are people rewarded for doing the wrong things? That was that first example I gave you. Shipping to the least profitable clients first was because they were rewarded for certain measures that were wrong. And then the human factor number 4 that you need to understand is capability. Do they actually have the skills to execute what needs to be done? Can they even learn the skills if they don't have them? Notice, none of that stuff is numbers. It's all about the humans. And this is what's interesting is you cannot assess any of those 4 factors without relationships, without trust, without the client opening up to you about what's really going on. And that's why no AI model will ever replace you as a cash flow advisor. Now, I am not anti-technology. I recommend tools to my clients. The Cash is Clear framework includes specific modeling software, and I use AI to do first passes. I am not anti-AI or anti-technology, but here's the distinction. These tools are amplifiers, not replacements. A calculator, for example, doesn't it replaces your mind, but what it really does is it amplifies your math capability. You've got to put in there what the numbers are that you wanted to calculate it, but the calculations are so much faster. It doesn't replace your judgment about which calculations to run. A cash flow model, it amplifies your analysis. It doesn't replace your judgment about what's causing the problem that the model reveals. And AI can definitely help you work faster. It can help you spot patterns. It can automate grunt work so you can focus on the high value advisory work. But it cannot and it will not replace your ability to read the room and sense, feel when your client isn't telling you something, they're holding back. Or they won't know when to push versus back off, or connect the dots between a personal situation and a business decision. And they certainly won't build the trust that makes clients actually implement your advice. Implementation is so difficult compared to identifying. And yes, identifying the root causes is not easy. But once you identified it, you need to figure out what the fix is. And again, it can come up with a whole bunch of different ideas of how to fix it, but actually working with the human beings to create the fix, that's where you can get real value or give real value to your clients. When I work with advisors during the Cash is Clear mastermind sessions, one of the breakthrough moments is when they realize, oh, I've been trying to compete on who has the best tools. I should be competing on who has the best judgment and relationships. But this is what happens. This is what happens when you make the shift. You stop seeing yourself as a technician who runs reports. You start seeing yourself as a strategic advisor that happens to use some tools. And that's what when clients start paying you $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month for your advice, and they pay you retainers, not because you have access to software, they're paying for you. It happened to me 2 days ago. I was on the phone with the client. I gave him a warning. I said, listen, I used AI to analyze your situation. It was leases, trying to figure out what was going on with his leases. I threw it into AI. It did preliminary modeling. It got so much wrong. It was amazing. However, it pulled out a lot of good information, and I was able to fix what it got wrong. And I told my client up front, because I was giving him access to the work results, and I warned him if he sees mistakes, I use the AI. He says, that's great. I don't want you to waste your time. That was the result. It was the conversation, though, that really made the difference. If You want to deep dive into developing this judgment, this mindset, the relationship skills that make you an indispensable cash flow advisor, then check out Pivot. That's the cash flow conference that we are holding for 4 days that will cram in 16 weeks of training. Normally, this is an hour a week, and we're doing 16 hours of cash flow advisory training, and it's going to be in a luxury boot camp experience. Go to pivot2026.com to learn more. Here's my call to action for you for this week. The one thing you can do to make some progress in your path and your journey to become a confident cash flow advisor. Reach out to a client. You'll know which one. Listen to your gut and ask them, what's the biggest financial challenge you're facing right now that you haven't told me about yet? Not, what does your forecast show, or what do the numbers say? Or you could just say, what's your biggest challenge you're having with your business? Don't even use the word finance. And listen, really listen. Don't jump to solutions, which is really hard to not jump to solutions. Ask more questions. Don't start immediately thinking about what tool or report you'll use. Just listen and understand the human context of their situation. And listen to the emotion that they're talking with, because that's what builds the relationship, and that's trust, and that makes you irreplaceable. If you want to take this even further, and if you want a proven framework on having these conversations and have some fantastic strategies, and you'll get an idea of how this really works, download my free ebook at CIC60.com. The link should be in the notes. It's 24 powerful cash flow strategies that you probably haven't heard of some of them, but it also tells you how it impacts your clients, and they're all within your client's control. They all provide short-term and long-term cash flow benefits, and they're there. It's an awesome ebook, and it's yours for the taking. The algorithms will keep getting better. The AI tools will keep improving. And that is actually good news for you, because the more the computers handle the data processing, the more your clients will appreciate and value your human judgment, your strategic thinking, and the trusted advisor relationship. Focus on cash, not on accounting. Focus on human beings, not just the numbers. That's where your value lies. That's where your confidence grows. Until next time, be the confident cash flow advisor your clients want.